And speaking of a nice addition to the set.
Oh, thank God. Charlie's here.
Finally, Charlie, great to see you. We are joined by Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer. It is Charlie O'Connor. How you doing tonight, Chuck?
I'm doing good. How are you two doing?
So tired.
So peachy.
So late there.
This game going to a 5-round shootout was the most predictable. I wish I would have bet that.
Bill jinxed it.
I did.
Halfway through the third. It was on him.
I don't even know where I want to start tonight, Chuck. Oh, the main guys. Michkov and Luchanko, both scoreless in their debut. Both showed a little bit. I thought Mish really came along as the game went on. What did you think of the rookies in their debut?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with Michkov. I think this was, obviously, other than the fact that he didn't score a goal, this was very reminiscent to me of the rookie game performance where he got better as the game went along. I thought in the third period, he was one of the best players on the ice, if not the best flyer on the ice. He was great. He was creating. He had that spinorama between the legs thing. He was just noticeable in a very, very positive way on pretty much every shift. The first two periods, he had moments. He had that one really good pass to Frost on the power play that Frost very easily could have buried, could have been an early primary assist for him. But I don't think he was dominant by any means. But I thought as the game went on, he looked better and better. And I thought in the third period, I think somebody tweeted out that he had 5 shots on goal in the third period. Like he was involved. He was engaged. And look, I know we present Michkov as, the savior who doesn't feel pain, who isn't, unflappable, but I'm sure he was nervous a little bit. Like, how could he not be? It's his first NHL game. He had a really long, I don't want to say journey because obviously it was long distance, but the process of becoming an NHL player, it was long and draining. I'm sure it took a lot out of him emotionally, and this was the culmination of all that work. So I'm sure he was a little nervous. Wouldn't shock me if that played into the fact that it took him about, the first 40 minutes of the game to really look like the guy who so impressed us throughout the preseason. So that's Michkov. Strong game, I would say, overall. Third period was his best. Good debut. Didn't score a point. And that's a little bit of a bummer because that would have been an easy and great story. But I certainly don't think he failed to live up to expectations. As for Luchanko, I think he looked fine. He nearly scores a goal, gets robbed by Lankinen late in the third period. I thought he was strong in the third. Thought he made some good plays on the power play. Also made some mistakes, and I was able to confirm it with John Tortorella that Luchanko is the guy who's at fault on the second goal. Wasn't the only guy. Tortorella basically said that he thought that play gets messed up in the first place because there was a miscommunication between Sam Ersson and Yegor Zamula, where he basically said that in his mind, Arison could have passed the puck to Zamula. Instead, he does a hard rim. They get the puck back, and then it becomes a big thing. But Luchanko is a little bit late covering his guy. And look, that's the NHL. And you gotta pick up those reads. You gotta make those reads. But I thought, with the puck, he made some plays. He also had some moments like he whiffed on a shot, had some passes that were a little off. But then there were other moments where he had some really good passes. He could have easily finished this game with a point or two. So I would say overall, solid performance, not perfect. I thought there were more warts in Luchanko's game than there were in Michkov's. But overall, I think they both showed themselves well.
Charlie, one of the, if not the biggest question mark coming into the season, the goaltending. Sam Arison, outstanding, I thought, tonight. Stopped 24-26, stopped 4 out of 5 in the shootout. What did you see out of Urs?
Yeah, I thought he was the best player on the ice. I thought he was great from start to finish. John Tortorella, after the game, straight up said when we asked him for his, more or less, his overall thoughts on the game, the way it progressed, he basically said, I think we won this game in the first period with Sam Arison. That, our penalty kill was giving up a ton of chances. It wasn't as sharp as it normally is, and Arison bailed us out. And that's more or less what I saw too. In the first period, Flyers could have been down 2-3-0. Instead, they're down, they're just down 1-0. They end up tying the game. Yeah, so Arison, to me, most important player on the team for the Flyers. And I think what's so exciting about this performance is that it really did look like just a continuation of the guy we saw in preseason. And I'm definitely one to disregard preseason results. I've seen too many times guys look real good in the preseason and then have terrible starts. I've seen guys look terrible in the preseason and then start off a season with a ton of points. But this Sam Ersson that we saw tonight was the same guy who looked so good in those 2 preseason games. He had that same sharpness, that same calmness. He was tracking the puck extremely well through traffic. He had some big side-to-side saves. He just looked sharp, and I would highly recommend everyone who is a diehard go to allphly.com and read my big feature on Sam Arison, which got published late last night into early this morning. If you are not a diehard, subscribe and read that great feature on Sam Ersson. But there's a reason why when we talked about our team awards, I guess it was last week when we did that show, there's a reason why I predicted Sam Ersson as my team MVP. I think he's a good goalie, and I think he's going to show it this year. And so far, it's just one game. Certainly not, doing a touchdown dance yet, but he looks legit.
Chuck, is there anybody that you were particularly disappointed in this evening?
It's a good question. I thought Zamula had a rough game. I was disappointed in him. I thought he struggled with the puck. I thought he'd had some moments in preseason where I thought, hey, maybe he's figuring something out. I thought he had a rough night. I would have said Ryan Poehling, but he has a really nice setup on the Cam York goal, so he kind of redeemed himself a bit because that first goal, that's on him. I mean, the pass from wrist to line and the breakout pass, it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. It was good enough. You're the center. It's your job to settle that puck and not allow what happened to happen. And he did. He just missed the pass. And then immediately after Höglander gets the goal, Poehling, I thought it was a continuation, just like it was a continuation for Ersson of a good preseason. I thought that first period was a continuation for Poehling of a bad preseason, but props to him. He comes through in the third period, gets a really nice pass to set up Cam York. So that saves me from calling it an awful game for Poehling, but I still want more from him.
Charlie, Tyson Forster famously, first 15 games last year, didn't score, but ends with 20. Picks up where he left off, scores in the opener tonight, so he's got that off his back. On pace for 82 goals. You think he gets there?
Oh, easily goal, right? Easily goal per game. Look out, Austin Matthews. We got a new goal scoring champion on our midst.
Right.
What did you see were there any really good John Tortorella quotes tonight?
Not really. I mean, he came away clearly happy with the performance. I think he knows that, they weren't at their sharpest, but it's the first game of the year. The Canucks weren't at their sharpest, and it was their second game of the year. So nothing too crazy from Torts. I was legitimately happy because sometimes he can shy away from giving you details about a specific play. I wanted to ask him about that second goal because for me I truly wasn't sure if it was Luchanko's fault, because you could make the argument that Zamula vacated his side of the ice and maybe that he shouldn't have done that, depending upon what they're told to do in the defensive zone. Those are the kinds of assignments where the coaching staff basically chooses what players should be doing in those situations. So I was curious. And a lot of times when you ask Tortorella about specific plays right after games, he'll just blow you off and he'll just be like, well, I don't remember. When he clearly does. He just doesn't want to talk about it. But this time he gave a really good answer. He talks about how, the Ersson-Zamula miscommunication, played into it. And then he straight up said, and a couple questions before, he praised Jett Luchanko's game. He said, they deserved the ice time in the third. I like what I saw from him. But then to answer that question, he acknowledges that Jett was the primary guy at fault, for the breakdown that leads to the goal. And I was impressed that Torts was that forthcoming. So that was probably my favorite quote of his, just because it was him giving more than he usually does to those types of answers, but it wasn't anything that's going to be like blowing up Twitter.
A new era of John Tortorella, if you will.
Let's not get carried away here.
Chuck, what would you call the best line tonight? Again, it's guys might have played 15 minutes together. They got mixed up a little in the third. Do you think there was anything you take it like, let's keep these three together?
It's a good question. I think the best line probably was Morgan Frost with Konechny and Michkov. And I do think you should keep that one together because obviously the first 2 periods, it's Couturier in the middle. They juggle the lines going into the third. I just think that there's something there with Frost and Michkov. And look, I in no way, shape, or form am I burying Sean Couturier like I saw some people on Twitter doing. It was one game. I'm not convinced that he's fully back into a rhythm yet. I want to see how this plays out over the next few weeks and months. But I don't think right now, at least, it's the right move to have Couturier with Michkov. I think you have to keep Frost with them. I think there's something there.
All right, Charlie. Do you have any more, Hinkle?
No.
All right. It is time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game. Hit us with star number 3, Chuck.
Star number 3, I'm gonna go with Tyson Forster. I thought he had a strong game. I thought it wasn't just the goal. I thought he had a really strong game overall. He got some time on the penalty kill, which I wasn't expecting. He finishes second in ice time behind only Travis Konecny among Flyers forwards. Obviously, he gets the goal, but I thought he was impactful basically all night and had a strong two-way game. And as you mentioned, produced some offense. So he's my 3rd star.
All right, let's go to star number 2.
Star number 2, I'm going to go with Kevin Lankinen. I thought he was really good. I thought, it wasn't quite a traditional goaltender battle because it's not like this was a 0-0 or 1-1 game. But I thought Lankinen made some fantastic saves. That one robbery he had on Luchanko, that was... I didn't think there was a chance that he was going to get to that one, and he just sprawls out and makes a big save. That would have obviously been great for the narratives. You have Michkov and Luchanko, combined for what could have been the game winner. That would have been great for us. Unfortunately, Lankinen had other plans, but I thought he was real good. Thought he had a good game, and if it wasn't for the fact that the other goalie was just a little bit better, he'd probably be my number 1 star.
And the 1st star, inevitably, it has to be
Morgan Frost?
It's
no.
Hey, Morgan Frost came through in the shootout. Good for him. Yeah. But no, it's Sam Ersson. He had a fantastic game. John Tortorella is 100% right that that this game, maybe it wasn't won in the first period, but it could have been lost in the first period had Ersson not been as sharp as he was. He was really sharp, and he was really sharp all night, to be honest. So Ersson easily 1st star of this game.
All right, Chuck. What'd you think of Morgan Frost in the shootout? What'd you think of that? The nice patience there before I let you go.
It worked, right? Apparently, Lankinen is really good in shootouts. That's what Kevin Woodley, who covers. I don't think he covers the Canucks, or maybe he does. He works for NHL.com. He's like a goalie guru, so he knows a lot of stuff about goalies. He mentioned that I think going into this shootout, Lankinen had only given up 2 goals on 22 shootout attempts.
Oh.
So he
wild.
had a track record of being real good in shootouts. So for the Flyers to beat him twice, good for Travis Konecny and Morgan Frost, and Morgan Frost comes through in a big moment. So props to you, Morgan. Well done.
All
right, Charlie. Thank you very much for joining us. We will talk again tomorrow, hopefully a little earlier than tonight, but who's to say? That is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor.
We all silly like the mayor.